Hello everyone, I'm gonna go through a bit of governance today. I had initially planned to talk more on governance security today, but through the conversations yesterday and the presentations yesterday, I saw there are some topics of what governance, why governance, that come before the how of governance. So learning the basics and understanding why we want to do things with governance is important to come first. And the idea here is to bring a little bit of the experience of the DAO experiments of Ethereum. DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, and thinking of DAO coordinations as states is something we have tried a little bit, have a lot to learn. The whole movement that comes after Balaji's book opens up a lot of new questions for how we coordinate on the internet, of how we use digital tools to make better governance. And well, that's what I want to get into a bit today. We've, as humans, been coordinating, been governing our stuff together for a long, long time. And I believe the next one is with code. I'm Zeugh, I'm a researcher at Blockful. I'm the head of research of a product called Anti-Capture, where we analyze some of the biggest online treasuries that are collectively governed to make sure they don't get robbed. Some of our clients hold a few $billion on chain, and you don't want a few $billion to be robbed because your government couldn't work. I've been through a few pop-ups. I think that those are very valuable experiments for us to learn how to think future. And as I was saying, we've been governing together for a long while. Since we were tribes, even before that, but every time we got bigger groups, every time we got better at getting people together, at managing resources, we had to improve even further. And that has been through a lot of steps. And all of them were technology. Governing ourselves is a technology. And better technology makes for better results. At some point, if you didn't coordinate, we would not survive. If you're in a savanna, you need to hunt, and the beast is bigger than you, you need 3 friends, and you need to throw the spears at the right time. But as the resources get more complex, the system that governs the resources needs to get more complex too, to be able to do that. And as the system complexifies, the governance around it needs to complexify too. You cannot run this society with, like, I don't know, 2,000-year-old governance nowadays. It wouldn't work. The one we have is like 200, 100 years old, depending, like 400 if you want to say it's Westphalia, but like it already doesn't work. So we need to upgrade it. And to upgrade to the next ones, it's important we understand where we come from, right? What are the bases that got us all this way? So classic example, monarchy. Everyone has heard of a king. Monarchy is a very efficient system. Beautiful, beautiful system. It works very well, except it has a big, big flaw. It's only as good as the king. A philosopher, lovely, perfect king that cares for its people is the best governing model you ever have. If the guy's a genius, can read all your minds and your hearts, but if his son is a tyrant, we're all in big trouble. So every system, even the most classical one, is going to have its pros and cons. From monarchy, we go to feudalism. We have crisis in the monarchy, things break down, and we start having this first moment of like where things decentralize in a manner. Instead of one king, you have many lords, and that has positive sides, has downsides. You have a lot of conflict because you have different choices, and that starts breaking you. We unite after those fuse into little burgs. We start having a bourgeois democracy over time. And we start having that people that are running society, that are putting money, that are making jobs happen, that are making assets happen, they are going to get choice. And that allows us to include more and more people over time. But that gets us kind of where we are today, where having participation doesn't mean you actually have a voice. We all can vote. Who here feels very well represented by the people they voted for, right? So we keep evolving, and I think the best ignored example of governance is corporate governance. Corporate governance is a quite curious mix of, let's say, a parliamentary monarchy. of the modern times, right? Where you have CEOs and founders where you can really centralize power, can really push execution, where you can have boards that can keep those in check and move through other perspectives. And well, you have a whole government that is kind of a company too, that kind of runs over those. And well, we try to figure out in each country how that should work. Those are all examples of how we've developed. I don't think any of those is good for today. I think we're thinking new cities. We want to vibe code a new city, prompt a new reality. We want to get good minds that look at the future and understand where we're going for. And for that, we're going to need to choose how we're going to govern this. And a beautiful thing about pop-up experiments, about network states, is that they're likely going to be governed differently from place to place. I haven't seen two experiments that have the same intention on how they're going to govern themselves. And I find that very exciting to see that the plurality comes true. And at some point, though, any experiment is going to have to make those choices. Change happens slowly and then all at once. At some point, there's a 10-year gap between having more cars and more horses in New York streets. We go slowly, we create tech, we have new problems, we start solving them, and suddenly, pop, change comes faster than expected. And I love this quote from Anderson and his techno-optimism. I think My Techno-Optimism, one of those names of books of this guy, where he's stating over and over how we have all the tech. It is here. We can transform with software everything. Now it's time to do it. And that is because we have a lot of tools that allows us to do that. We have governance that can be mirrored all over the globe. I don't need to only govern my neighborhood or my city. We can have a global network that governs itself. We don't depend on single points of failure when you're talking about blockchain governance, for example, where like a single server or a single failure is going to turn it down. And well, lots of different tech points that facilitate this. And I want to get a little bit into why we would be using them to make it different. I think being in a network society conference, the idea of what's a network state is a bit clear, but we have multiple perspectives. I just want to bring this very direct definition of, not even the sentence, more focused on the pieces of it, right? You can start with cloud, you're digital, you have community, which allows you to create a treasury, which allows you to acquire or rent or be in a territory and get then recognition from the states that be, the powers that be. And you need the online community, a crypto economy. You need to be able to coordinate to do collective action and get recognized. All those things can exist. They don't depend on each other. It's their connection that makes it powerful. And the timing for experimenting with those things is now better than ever. We're in a spot where old system is failing, but not only old system is failing, the new system has everything it needs to go forward. And really, it's not only because why now, but it's like, what else? Really, what are you gonna do? Like, we don't have time to wait. We don't have a social contract that stays firm. We can't really afford, like, who runs the show to be incompetent with what we have right now. And we have AI, we have war, we have climate change. If we don't do stuff, we're not gonna be in good positions in a few years. So you can't rationally be lazy with being a techno-optimist right now. So yada yada, why? I want to bring a little bit of the first governance systems that we've designed for the internet. And those are DAOs. They are native, internet-focused, crypto-centric, and they're decentralized autonomous organizations. They're groups of nerds around the globe in the beginning that have shares on the same treasury. And they're going to vote to choose how to allocate that. But they're not going to be voting to elect someone to do it, and they're not going to be voting and hoping someone does it. It's not as we get together here and we make a show of hands, who's going to go get water? And then we vote for me, and now I have to go and get water. DAOs runs on smart contracts. It means that if we vote and the vote succeeds, it is going to execute. The transaction, the crypto transaction, happens as the choice happens. There's no step in the middle for us to say like, oh no, but look, actually, as I am the one executing, I'm going to hire my cousin to do it instead. No, it follows the code. And I think this is already a big improvement from what we have today. But it doesn't go yet all the way to network states. The stack that we use is having basically 3 layers of what's going to happen here, right? You can have whatever discussion platform you want. You can have off-chain, meaning not blockchain-based votes, or on-chain, meaning transactions that count as votes. And then you have execution that can both be done by elected representatives, as we know happens today, or, as I was saying, through autonomous execution. Some of those examples of DAOs are like Uniswap, the biggest decentralized exchange, a treasury worth billions of dollars, voting on how to allocate that money that comes from fees, from profit, into new teams to make new technology, voting whether to upgrade their contracts on-chain or not, change the technology, change the protocol, or where will they have their legal entity? Is it going to be the United States? Are they going Caymans? How are you playing around it? All of that is voted, and all of that is chosen through smart contracts on Ethereum. And that can be done in a lot of different ways, like basic, classic, Uniswap, Aave, any big DAO nowadays. 1 token, 1 vote. Basically, you vote with your money. You buy tokens, you get votes. Good part, it's simple, it's easy. Bad part, money calls all the shots. That's not ideal for every system. I'm particularly biased towards reputation-based systems. I love that Jean brought both social graphs and reputation before. I think those are 2 tools that really plug well into governance, but they're not part of governance. Governance depends on them being done well. If you have a good reputation system, a good social graph, all of those things that I'm showing here, they can be way better, but it depends on those other pieces of the stack to superpower. Beyond 1 token, 1 vote, you can have quadratic, where more people with little power voting matter more than 1 single person with a lot of power voting. Also pros and cons. Conviction voting, the longer you hold an idea, the longer you take your power and you allocate your voting power, your voice, to support that idea, the more valuable your vote counts. Because if you're changing your mind all the time, you don't really know what you're doing. If you have an idea, if you're intentional, if you're committed, that's what gives you more voting power and conviction. Delegation, where you can pick someone to vote for you, which is different than representation. Delegation doesn't mean you make the choices for me forever as a congressman, for 4 years or whatever. It means you get my vote, and until I change it, you can represent my vote. Futarchy, that's quite new and quite interesting, which means you bet on the results. You say like, I think that should we do this? And then everybody bets. If we do it, does our collective valuation go up or down? And if more people think that doing this makes our value, or whatever metric we pick, become better, then we do it. And people who are wrong lose their monies because they're betting. And then rage quit with exiting. It's not really a voting mechanism, but it's an important mechanism on governance, being able to just get out with your part, with your shares, whenever you want, because you're not obligated to hear what other people think. It's your money, it's your votes. If you disagree, get your stuff and go somewhere else. All of those systems keep kind of the same problems nowadays, and those are problems that governance on-chain has to overcome to be able to really do states well in the future, and those are quite annoying challenges. First one is that voting sucks. Having to show up and look at proposals that are 20 pages long, have a lot of technical details, and you have to vote because it's your choice. What do we do? And you have no idea. You're not technical, or you don't know economy, and, well, you get tired. Voting is a job, sometimes a full-time job. I have a friend in Switzerland that is Brazilian, and she says that moving to Switzerland is like, now she has a second job that's like, she's also a congresswoman, because she has so many stuff to read and vote all the time. Second big issue, governance capture, especially when we're talking of share-based, money-based voting. If I can buy 50% of your votes in the open market, and 50% of your votes cost less than your treasury, then I'm going to buy 50% of your votes and propose give me all the money. And that happens. That's literally my job's trying to stop that from happening in some of the big protocols. Looking at market conditions, understanding what governances could be captured just because valuation is wrong at the time, because crypto is a roller coaster and some people are very exposed. And last one is legitimacy. If you can use code to make something happen, that doesn't mean community agrees. And that creates dissidence. And that breaks legitimacy. So you have a 100,000 people community, and these 5 guys have a lot of power. And they vote, and whatever they say happens. And now no one really feels like their ownership matter. Your 0.5% is nothing when it feels like nothing. And well, this is kind of the state we are right now with DAOs. We've come a long way. First DAO experiment, it's worth noting, is in 2016 with the DAO, 15 to 16. And it's been now 10 years of building pieces on top of that, trying to figure out new ways. And it has come a long way, but we're at the edge of some of the biggest changes there. I think AI is a big change in the loop. We've been doing at Blockful AI governance systems for 2 years now. And they're amazing and they're terrible. They're like a beautiful, annoying thing. They solve voter fatigue instantly. You make your own digital twin, you give it all your opinions, and you say, dude, just vote for me. Here's the constitution of the organization. Here are 3 books that I love on how we should govern stuff. Just make my votes. And then you have no idea how does it make such dumb votes after. But it gets 90% right. Soon enough, voting all the time will not be an issue. But you can both use AI for governance, but you can also use governance for AI. It's a whole other topic, but quite fun too. Bringing AI into this thing in the last couple of years has really changed how far I think it can go. And the next step in here that I think matters for pop-ups, for network states specifically, is how we govern territory. As we're living together, it stops being trivial. It stops being, oh, I don't like it, I'm gonna get out. If getting out means moving with my 2 small kids out of their school to a whole new area where half my rights are gone, then governing is non-trivial. I like to leave with an invitation for everyone to debate if you'd be in IP as a resident, long term, if you'd be living with those people that are sitting by your side, meeting, I don't know, once a week, once a month. I don't know how often you see your neighbors, but what type of rules would you like to have together? What type of, how do you think decisions should be made? I think there are multiple possible paths. Sometimes not governing and just having a founder CEO that leads for the first full generation is good enough for many projects. For others, it's not. So, what would you want in a network state to do that the nation, the country, however you want to call it, that you live in, does not? Happy to chat more on that or take questions. I also leave some reading sources that might be interested for anyone who knows. My favorite ones here are My Techno-Optimist by Vitalik and Plurality of Audrey Tang. Very, very curious ways to look at this. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. We have time for a few questions. Would anyone like to start? Here.
Actually, just a comment. I think one thing that is important to realize is that we kind of try to figure out the best way to govern, but I think there is an important note that is only the possibility of having several, like discussing many different approaches for governance. This is already a big deal because we didn't think about that in the status quo. So like it's voting is voting. Like there is innovation there. We can do it differently. So you show like Futarchy and one token a vote and other stuff. Like only the possibility of testing and seeing the results and maybe many of these approaches is going to work because maybe in a different community works or for a different budget or for different industry. So having this plurality and this design space to experiment and test, this is already a big deal. Like it's a new frontier to run that. So that was a good slide and idea.
Thank you. Yeah, I think not only the capacity to discuss is already amazing, but the idea that now we can make one that mixes them, because each one is good for one thing. So you can use Futarchy for some stuff, token one vote, quadratic, conviction, for different parts of society that you need different stuff.
I'm just wondering here if this, well, not if, when this progress, your thoughts are this, how do you call the state, how do you call it? The network state. If how will they evolve from a local place like a village, a city, to statewide or nationwide? So are you thinking of going back to the city-states as you used to have? So this is kind of going back hundreds of years in time.
Yeah,
you have to think about the whole world today is divided in its nation states.
Yeah,
and going even like the European Union, going even farther than nation states. So
I really like the capacity, and I think we undervalue the capacity that big nation states today have in keeping basic public goods working. Roads are a pain in the ass. Water systems are hard to do. Electricity, it's annoying. All of those big things are a lot of trouble, and I don't think network states are going to be in any place to do this in a global scale with over-Atlantic cables in the near future. I think the recognition from states, that's the last step, when I put like 5 steps there, and one of them is recognition, is because I think it's autonomous city-states that have good relations with their host. We're a little parasite getting ready to get them down over a long time, or to cooperate, depending on how the relation goes. But I think network states and nation states have a symbiotic relation for the near future, where having special areas where you have a big producing capacity, high intellectual capacity, high creative capacity, can really benefit the nation state while giving territory and allowing us to be and do things our way is beneficial for us too. So I think this is a partnership. It's not a war. Nation states are the ones that make war, and they make war in one another. We're just part of another game, and for now they're there. In the long term, I'm a believer of federalism. I think like federated city-states are quite a powerful thing. With this being one of the only ways I can see different government structures being able to cooperate. Because nowadays when we see big nation states, they have different structures, different goals, different values, they bomb each other. I don't think that's what we should be trying to replicate.
Awesome, thank you so much, Zeugh.